Hello and welcome to another episode of Bold Opinions Matter. This, if I'm counting right, is actually episode 5. So welcome along, thanks for tuning in and watching again. As you can see, it's a little bit dark in the background. There is a reason for that, and I'm not putting the light on, as this time it's because the main issue on this particular episode of Bold Opinions Matter is to do with Brexit. Now, I'm not a Brexiter. I'm anti-Brexit. I'm pro-Remain, as you all know, probably by now. And the reason for me keeping this dark and not putting the light on in this second room is because we now live in dark times, as I see it, because of us leaving the EU. Now, we're not a lot of people won't agree, and a lot of people will. But yes, we do now live in dark times, is the way I see it. So this particular episode is quite a darkened video to reflect my mood on how I feel about bloody Brexit. The only good thing that's coming out of it is, as I look at my second screen here, is that Nicola Sturgeon is fighting for Scottish independence again. That's what I'm looking at here, which is fantastic. But we'll come to that. My main thing I want to cover on though is Brexit. And as you all know, it was in the news the other day that Theresa May signed the letter that was to I'm losing my words here. Signed the letter that is to say that we want to officially leave the EU. Now to me, that's absolute. It's terrible. Yesterday was a sad day. Normally, I make these videos comical, and I'm laughing all the way through it. But this one's quite, as you can see, a darkened room for a dark reason, because it's dark times. I think we are now living in as a nation, about to embark by ourselves. Look at it this way: we are a small island. We're not a big island. We've got a huge population, massive population, but we are a small island. And I don't think we can survive alone. Now, a lot of people may disagree with that, and I hope all these people who disagree are right, because in years to come, we could be in serious shit, being alone and without the help of the European Union. Now, you think, here's one example of a country that's done really well because of EU money and EU help, and that is Malta. I've visited Malta 5 times, and every time I've been to Malta, I've seen every time it improving. Malta was, if you know your history, Malta was pummeled in the Second World War by the Germans. Bombed to shit it was. The people of Malta actually received the George's Cross for their bravery in fighting the Germans off and surviving the onslaught of the Second World War. They received a George Cross for that, which was quite right. Malta was then the British, Winston Churchill, at the end of the war said to Malta, "Oh, we will help you rise from the ashes," he said. That was what Churchill said to the Maltese people. It didn't happen. At the 1945, at the end of the war, the Brits, pissed off, left Malta, didn't help them out at all. And then through the rest of the years, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and onwards, I think their leader was General Pinto, Pinto, something like that. He just didn't have the funds. At the time, Malta wasn't in the EU, didn't have the funds to build themselves up from the bombing that they received in the Second World War. When they did join the EU, they received loads of money and loads of support and got the help that they needed to rebuild their country. Which is excellent, and that goes to show the money that Malta benefited from being in the EU, because they needed the help. to help rebuild the country. And I've been there, as I say, 5 years pretty much in a row, bar one year, and noticed the difference each and every one of those years in the country being built up, especially in the capital, Valletta. Now I want to give a mention in this particular episode, if she's watching, to Amy Walker and Johnny Bain in particular. Lovely couple. Always watch my videos. I thank you so much for watching them and enjoying them. Johnny Bain and Amy Walker. There you go, Amy. Here's your mention. Yes, she'll be well chuffed. One of my work colleagues. Yes, lovely couple, both of them, and I hope I get an invite to any possible wedding in the future. Yes, at the moment, because of dark times, we do need something to brighten things up like that. Hopefully, all this sunshine that we had a few weeks ago, it's pissed off now. It's bloody raining. We need this rain back and the sun to come back. Anyway, I do digress. Yes, that's a mention for you, Amy. You can't say I'm ignoring you this time. Yes, I don't mention people's names every single episode, but that's a one-off special. So, yes, that suddenly came into my mind then, because I was very surprised. Not many people who don't know Malta know what the capital is, and Amy knows that it's Valletta, because of the Eurovision Song Contest came from there 1 year. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, so it's to go back to the EU issue. Malta was benefited majorly from EU help. Valletta in particular, because that was bombed to shreds in the Second World War and was built up, as I've noticed, over 5 years of visiting there. So that's my point. When people, that's my argument. When people say about how bad the EU is, I say, well, look what Malta's got out of it, and you cannot sit there and tell me that England and Britain has got nothing out of being in the EU. They've got plenty out of it. We've maybe put plenty into it, but we've got plenty out of it as well. So that is the main reason. Now, there's a big argument. There's a big point to argue, which I can see, right, that they're all unelected. The leaders of the European Union are all unelected, and that I cannot argue with that at all. So I took the view that my messiah and my hero, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn, said, let's stay in the EU, but reform it. That's make a few little changes here and there and say, oh yes, we want this, we want that, we won't do this, we won't, blah, blah, blah. That's what he said. That's what Jeremy Corbyn said, and he's spot on about that. Let's stay in the EU, but have little bits of negotiations to say, oh yes, but you lot who are leading it are not going to have it all your own way. And that's great. I completely agree with that. Absolutely fantastic. And everything Jeremy Corbyn says, I totally agree with. He very, very rarely says anything that I disagree with. I can't actually recall anything at the moment. So yes, that's the first burning issue on what I think is the fifth. Yes, I think it's the fifth episode of Bold Opinions Matter. By goodness me, we're getting into them, aren't we? But yeah, before we go, the second part is about Nicola Sturgeon. She's signed an independence vote request, asking the powers that be for a second Scottish independence referendum, which I'm on Nicola Sturgeon's side, because as I explained in the last episode of Bold Opinions Matter, when we were recorded live in the great city of Edinburgh, most of Scotland voted to actually stay in the EU, but they're going to be dragged out of it when we go out of it. They're going to be dragged out of the EU against their will. So no wonder Scotland wants a second referendum on independence, Because now I admit I am a separatist. I do not mind if the EU breaks up. I do not mind if the UK breaks up. I'm getting my words minced. This isn't getting deleted. It's going out as raw as it is, folks. The UK. I'm a separatist. I don't mind if the UK break up if they are happy, and that's what and that's what people are happy with. So be it. These things happen. It happened in Czechoslovakia, it happened in Yugoslavia, it's happened in other countries, and they've got on perfectly well afterwards. It's not made any difference whatsoever. So I don't have a problem with it. I can fully understand why Scotland wants that second referendum. Referendum, yeah. So yes, Nicola Sturgeon. That's in the news today about Nicola Sturgeon, and obviously yesterday was when the letter was signed by that horrible Prime Minister of ours, Theresa May, to officially that letter goes to the powers that be in the EU, saying that Britain wants to leave the European Union. So yesterday was a sad day, hence why we do have a darkened room for this particular episode. But of course you can still see my handsome head here, I hoping anyway. So just about coming to the end of this one, a little bit of a longer episode for you to enjoy this time. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm just reading on my screen here a little bit more news, but there's not much more. It's basically going around what I was saying. That Scotland want the second referendum because of being dragged out of the EU, and they wanted to stay in, so you can understand that one. So we'll see you back here again for the next episode next week or the week after, or blah blah blah. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon anyway. Bye for now.